Hello everyone, it's Bonita from Pennies to Dollars. And if you have followed me for a while, you probably know that my channel is a little bit different than some of the other frugal channels that you may listen to. I try to come up with original ways to look at spending habits and living frugally, and I live in the country and I'm a farm girl, and so I have a different spin on things and sometimes a different perspective from growing up with Depression era parents. And so I hope that you can find new original ways or even old-fashioned ways by following my channel on ways that you can spend money. And when I hear things and I learn things, my mind works in numbers and my mind works in frugality. And sometimes I look at it as a game, not in ways that I can figure out how little I can live on, but in ways that I can figure out how I can get more for what I have without spending more money and live my best life by spending less money and still do all the things I want to do by spending less money. And so I was intrigued the other day because I heard this person on YouTube with this short little clip of some concepts from Buddha. And I'm not a Buddha follower, but again, my mind works in numbers and in frugality. And when I heard the concepts behind what Buddha was saying in 563 BC, I thought, my gosh, you can apply this to now, and you can apply it to frugality and spending habits. And so I just thought I would share that with you. I'm going to go ahead and tag the author of those shorts below in case you're interested. But when you listen to it, think about it in a sense of money and how we get ourselves in debt and why we get ourselves in debt. I just found this really profound. So I'm going to share some of those concepts today, and I thought maybe that might help us kind of take a step back and look at some of our spending habits and realize where they're coming from. So the first concept had to do with physical suffering and the fact that a lot of our life and a lot of our decisions are based on this suffering. It has to do with us not being willing to change until things get difficult. And many times people will look to being frugal when things have gotten difficult in their lives, or they've gotten in debt, or they've realized that they now have a problem. And it's human nature to not want to change when nothing is broke. Don't change it if it's not broke, right? But once it is broken, once you start having difficulty paying your bills and making ends meet, then you step back and say, okay, this is too hard. I have to change something. So I thought that that was really interesting in thinking about that we don't really look to change anything when nothing is broken. The second concept had to do with desire and the fact that we as humans continue to desire things, continue to look for things to make us happy, to fill our lives, to fulfill our lives. And as we go through and are constantly looking for that next best thing to make us happy or to fulfill us, a lot of times that is where we're spending money. And we're spending money on different things depending on our personality to try to fill those voids. We're always looking for happiness. We're not always satisfied with what we have. And our pleasure when we do buy things are short-lived. And so that is where some of that cycle begins, on trying to find ways to make ourselves happy and to continue that feeling that we get when we get something that makes us happy, but then that feeling is short-lived. So we're sometimes as creatures, we are just unsatisfied. And so we're always looking for a way to be satisfied instead of being satisfied with what we have. The third thing is to look for causes of that suffering. There are roots connected to our suffering that we sometimes don't see without really taking that step back, that time to reconnect with ourselves and to determine where those roots are coming from. Where is the cause of our suffering coming from when it's happening to us financially? A lot of times it's coming from roots of desire to have that something in our lives that will make us feel better. Those indulgences that we cater to in our daily life to get through that day, whether it is a quick coffee at a coffee shop that costs us $6, no matter what it is, we're looking for those little indulgences to make our life worth living. And sometimes those things are the things that actually build up our credit card balances and make things harder on ourselves and make that suffering harder on ourselves by trying to give ourselves those indulgences. We always believe that those things will make us happy, will make us feel better, will reward us in some way. And then we gain an attachment to those thoughts, and they're just reinforced daily that got me through yesterday, maybe it'll get me through today, maybe it'll get me through the second half of today. And we tend to reinforce those feelings and reinforce those habits that we have started to try to make ourselves feel better. And then the fourth concept was to look at how to end that suffering, how to stop that feeling for always wanting more, how to be satisfied with the things that we already have, and to realize that that desire for things is what leads us down to the path of it being difficult for us. We have to change that path to end our suffering, to end our financial difficulties. We have to decide what that path looks like to get us out of that situation. Buddha actually had a few concepts that I thought this just applies perfectly to trying to get out of debt and trying to get in the right mindset to get out of debt. And his principles were understanding. You have to understand how you got there and why you're in this situation. And then you have to build intention to get out of that situation and to make things easier on yourself and to get out of debt. And then you have to use like positive speech and reward yourself by patting yourself on the back and saying, hey, I'm doing this. I'm going to do this. I know I can do this. And then you have to take action. You have to take action every single day, even if it's a little bit. And one of the tips I always give is if you do go through the coffee drive-through every day to get through the day, and one day you don't do it, you save that $6. Go home immediately and apply that $6 that you would have spent to one of your credit card bills. And if you can do this a couple of times a week, you will start seeing that you're making a difference. This is actually how we paid off our business in 6.5 years. We had a 13-year loan and we paid it off in 6.5 years by just making little $10 extra payments or extra $20 payments here and there that cut down on the interest and helped us pay off our debt quicker. Every time we had just a little bit of leadway, I put it directly into that loan. I had a way to go online and be able to make those payments automatic. And so I didn't have to write a check or go to the bank. I could just get online and just make a little $10 transfer and just keep working at that. And I kept running balances so I could see my progress. And I kept balances of how much progress I had made to continue that positive self-talk, to pat myself on the back to see that I was making progress. And then the next step is to put forth effort to stop those negative thoughts, to put forth mindfulness in everything that you do and be present in that moment. It's so easy just to go on autopilot and just start this routine and just stay on that routine to get through that day or get through that afternoon and not really think about the consequences of how that is affecting you financially. So it's very important to be in that moment And then to concentrate is the last step, to stay on that path, to continue your concentration, continue your mindfulness, continue your positive talk to yourself, continue that understanding, that intention, and that action. Best way that we can stay on track is to accept what got us here and to accept our path to get out of the situation that got us here. It is uncomfortable to change our daily habits. That is what leads us to realizing that we need to change those daily habits. So I hope this has been helpful to you. I really enjoy looking at different ways and different perspectives that help us save money and understand why we are in the situation that we are in. And I hope that you're enjoying this type of content too. I hope to see you in the next video.